3, 2, 1!
Hello and welcome back to the Brave podcast, Doing Travel Differently. My name's Faye, founder of The Brave, and today we're talking about something that sits quietly underneath many of the topics that we've explored in this podcast so far. The idea of mindful travel and slowing down. Travelling more mindfully doesn't mean travelling less, or at least I don't think it has to. It doesn't mean travelling perfectly or stripping the joy out of your experiences. In fact, it's actually the opposite. It's about slowing down just enough to notice, to feel, and to connect with yourselves, with others, and the places that you're visiting. Perhaps most importantly, it's about realising that slowing down doesn't mean missing out. And very often, that can mean getting more out of your travel experiences than we ever did before. Many of us travel at the same pace we live life. We rush to the airport, we rush through itineraries, we rush from highlight to highlight, ticking off sites, snapping for the gram, documenting everything, and then rushing home again. Modern travel often mirrors modern life, busy, overstimulated, and packed full of expectations. Whilst that can be exciting, it can also leave us feeling strangely empty or perhaps exhausted when the trip is over. Mindful and slower travel invites us to ask a simple question. What happens if we slow down, even a little bit? Mindful travel is often misunderstood. It's not about being rigid or restrictive, travelling without comfort, turning every decision into a moral dilemma, or becoming an ethically perfect traveller. It also doesn't necessarily mean having loads of time and the ability to stay in a place for a long time, although of course that's desirable and can bring about a general slowing down or feeling of an ability to slow down. Mindful travel is more about awareness, intention, curiosity, presence. It's about making choices consciously rather than automatically. We could perhaps think of it as a state of mind or a philosophy of consciousness of slowing down. For example, staying in fewer places a little longer, choosing to walk instead of taking a taxi, packing in fewer plans to the day, talking to the person that's serving your coffee, noticing the rhythm of the place that you're visiting. And these are actually quite small shifts, but they can bring about fundamental emotional change in, how does travel actually feel? Time is contemporary society's most precious commodity. We seem to have so little of it, and what we have is so stretched, and very little of that time might be available for travel. Not everyone has the gift of extensive periods of time to be able to engage in staying longer, but that's not actually what we're saying here. Slowing down is about being more mindful and conscious. It's a mindset that one can adopt and apply to whatever duration or activities that you might be engaged in. Yes, you might only have a short amount of time in the destination, but whilst you're there, slow your energy, sharpen your focus by the choices you make of how you spend that time, and you might actually get a lot more enrichment out of that experience. Take a casual mooch around a local market, stopping to chat with people rather than whizzing around on the subway to try and catch and tick off and photograph the iconic sites just so you can boost your Instagram profile. In that sense, slowing down is very much cognitive as well as physical, and conscious is awareness, and mindfulness is attentiveness. Across the Brave Advocates Network, we see mindful travel showing up in many different forms. On walking retreats with Maverick Adventures, travellers move around 4 kilometres an hour, slow enough to think, to talk, to notice. People often say it's the first time in years they've truly felt present in their own body and surroundings. With route on wheels and rising dust in India, journeys are designed to move through communities, not past them. Travellers stop, share meals, listen to stories, and experience place as lived reality rather than simply a checklist. In urban settings, Go with Anthony shows how mindfulness doesn't require remote locations. Walking around the streets of Kuala Lumpur slowly with context and storytelling can turn an ordinary city stroll into a deeply human experience. At Finca Juanamara, one of the newest of our brave advocates, they place a lot of emphasis on the good life. Aspects such as communal dining, having a complimentary welcome drink on the sunny terrace that encourages a sense of community, togetherness, and cross-cultural learning and conversation. At our Brave Stays properties, mindful travel often happens naturally because of the existence and the form of that accommodation. There's fewer distractions, there's simpler surroundings, there's time to sit, read, cook, watch the light change, enjoy the sunrise, enjoy the sunset. Guests frequently say they arrived expecting less and left feeling like they gained much, much more. So when we travel more mindfully, the benefits are personal and they can be quite profound actually. Travellers can experience reduced stress and anxiety, a sense of deeper rest and restoration, a stronger emotional connection to the place, more meaningful interactions, clearer memories, and a greater sense of gratitude. Mindful travel doesn't just change the trip, it changes how we come home. People return more grounded, reflective, and often more patient with everyday life. So here's some simple, realistic ways that you can invite more mindfulness into your journeys. No major overhaul is required here. Just travel with fewer fixed plans, stay longer in fewer places, walk whenever possible. Put your phone away sometimes, look up, eat without rushing, savour the flavours, sit in public spaces and observe. Muse upon the curiosities and the differences of the destination. Ask questions and really listen. Choose accommodation that supports rest, disconnection and quiet, like the Brave Stays. Allow space for boredom, because it often leads to discovery. And you don't need to do all of these. Just one or two can shift the entire tone of a trip. As you can see, this simple list doesn't require you necessarily to be in the destination for a longer time, although inevitably the two things do go hand in hand. But these are simple practices that can be applied to all experience. There's also an important overlap between mindfulness and responsibility. When we slow down, we consume less, we waste less, we intrude less, and we notice impacts more clearly, more visibly. Mindful travellers naturally tend to behave more respectfully towards people, cultures, wildlife, and environments. Not because they're trying to be good, but because awareness breeds care. And this is where mindful travel quietly supports more sustainable and ethical tourism, without force or without fear. So in a world that rewards speed, productivity and accumulation, slowing down can feel quite radical. But mindful travel is a brave choice. It says, I don't need to see everything. I will come back. I don't need to rush. I'm open to what could unfold. And often what unfolds is richer, more human and more memorable than anything we could have planned. So if there's one takeaway from today, it's this. Traveling more mindfully isn't about doing less, it's about experiencing more presence, more connection, more meaning. And the beautiful thing is, it's available to us all, regardless of budget, destination, or travel style. So thank you for joining me for this episode of the Brave podcast, Doing Travel Differently. Next time we'll explore how travellers can support local communities more intentionally and why that often leads to the most rewarding experiences of all. Until then, travel bravely, travel kindly, and give yourself permission to slow down.